So
Hey
Dr.
guys.
Jake, Dr. Jake is in Arizona. Brian's in New York State. Uh,
I I'm in Washington. Washington today was Arizona last time. Yeah.
oh, gotcha. You're
Yeah,
all over
keep
the
him up.
place.
He's in flow.
He's in flow all over the place. All right. So I'll introduce myself. So I'm Magda. I'm a life and health coach and transitioning into spiritual coaching as well. I love being in flow through dancing. I do flow arts dancing, and I also used to salsa dance and Latin dance for many years, and I still do that a little bit. And to me, that's a way of like surrendering into the flow and the movement of things. Dr. Jake is a naturopathic doctor. He's also a flow state apprentice because he doesn't want to call himself an expert yet. And his way of getting into flow is through surfing, so riding the waves. And Brian was actually an he was a former bomb technician in special operations in the Navy, and he's currently a leadership advisor and coach. He's also a nervous system strategist, and his way of getting into flow state is also on the water catching waves, but as a hydrofoil. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I always call it kite surfing, but hydrofoiling. My dad's a kite surfer, so we have a lot in common.
Oh,
Uh, and what we wanted to talk about today is flow state. So the three of us agree that hustle culture is dead. What does this mean? It means that we don't need to grind so much anymore. We're not here to effort, to suffer, to like make things work. We're here to ride the wave of life in a state of peace, joy, excitement, inspiration, creativity. And what this means is basically compressing 30 hours of hard, arduous work into 3 hours of focused, excited flow state work. And this is what we wanted to talk to you about because I know a lot of you guys probably, work 9 to 5 jobs or you're entrepreneurs and you might be in this like hustle and grind state, but perhaps you want to get into a more effortless kind of life. And the three of us are all very passionate about what really inspired us to talk about flow is actually F1 drivers. So we all watched the movie F1. And I did want to share a quote from Ayrton Senna. He was one of the best race car drivers in the world. And while he was in flow state, I do want to mention that state is not just reserved for elite athletes and F1 drivers and special operation technicians. It's for everybody, everyday life people. But I did want to inspire you guys with this Ayrton Senna quote. So this was during his 1988 Monaco Grand Prix race. And this is what he said. I was already on pole, then by half a second, and then 1 second, and I just kept going. Suddenly, I was nearly 2 seconds faster than anybody else. And I suddenly realized that I was no longer driving the car consciously. I was driving it by a kind of instinct, only I was in a different dimension. Then he also says, the circuit for me was a tunnel, which I was going, going, going. And I realized I was well beyond my conscious understanding. So to me, state of flow is where you kind of get out of your mind. Like your brain is there, it's present, but you're more also in your body. And it's like you're also in a different dimension at the same time. So to me, being in a state of flow feels like a spiritual experience. The way Ayrton Senna mentions that he feels like he was in a different dimension. So we do want to guide you through a few exercises to actually get you into a state of flow, and we'll do it in a few different ways. So I'll get you guys first to just very quickly we'll connect to our heart space. To me, that's one way to get into flow is to create body and mind coherence. And so one very simple way to do that is just stand straight or sit up with your feet on the ground. You can close your eyes if you like. Place your attention on the bottoms of your feet and then just feel the grounding energy beneath you. You can imagine roots growing down into the earth and then connecting with the center of the earth, the like hot lava center of the earth. And then as you do that, imagine a ball of golden light coming in through the top of your head and going down through your entire body. So starting with the top of the head, then your face, your neck, through the heart, your stomach, and through your legs and down into the feet. And as you feel that golden light embodying your whole body, Put your hands out as if you're pushing the walls to your right and to your left with your hands. So you're pushing them out like in a cross position. And as you push them out, imagine your aura expanding. So your light is expanding way out beyond you. And imagine that in a circular direction all around you as well. And now that you feel your light golden aura expanded, now you can put attention on your heart and open your arms out like this, like a cactus pose. Yeah, like Dr. Jake is doing. Look up to the sky, exactly. With your heart really open. So you're putting your shoulder blades together. So you're really opening up your heart space physically. And then you're looking up to the sky. And then just connect with the energy of love. And then think of your desires, your intentions, what you'd love to achieve, your big dreams, and then just surrender them to the divine as you're connecting to that space of love. And then you can finish off with putting your hands on your heart just to contain that energy within you. And then you can relax.
I love that.
Great. So now our hearts are open, and now we can get more into the breath work that Brian will teach us, which is actually something called polyvagal toning to help calm and regulate the nervous system.
Thank you, Magdalena. Great introduction. This is our first.
Thank you.
So be kind to us. First is worst, as they say. And so, like, if anything goes off plan, we're just flowing with it. So thanks for your grace in advance. I just finished some client work. This guy's on his way to having 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And what Magdalena just led us in, we did a version that was just eyes closed, covered. 180 seconds, 3 minutes, eyes closed is all I need to reset my ocular nerve. And so if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, the opposite of flow, the meditation, the guidance that Magdalena just did is an amazing reset, like once an hour. And so if you were to just imagine doing that once an hour. And when my client opened his eyes, he's like, my world is brighter. Mm-hmm. And I could hear and see things that I couldn't hear and see before because I'm in a higher vibration, right? So if I'm in like a shitty vibration, I'm going to see like the shittiness of life. If I'm leading with the heart and I'm being pulled by my dreams, by the way, Alex Hormozy and Tony Robbins, they just did a live coaching session this week on YouTube. And a lot of us, myself included, man, I got real good at pushing the heavy rock up the epic Sisyphus mountain, you know, but it's finite, you know, and maybe you listening to, you have a higher than average discipline. And Alex in this was like, I've given up on happiness. And Tony said, like, well, that's a pretty mediocre goal, right? To suffer. Would you accept mediocre goals in other areas of your life? He goes, no. He's like, why are you accepting that one? It's joy, brother. Fuck suffering. So that's what we're here to do today, is stop suffering. Let's use joy. And what a magnificent guidance in that, Magdalena. Let's use joy and flow to pull us towards, 1 million subscribers, whatever your goal. Just think about your goal for a second. And then we're going to scoot ahead into the future. This is Walt Disney. And it's one of my favorite stories. When Walt Disney died, his brother Roy was being interviewed. And the reporter said, isn't it a shame that, Walt isn't going to get to see this completed? And Roy just smiles at the reporter. He goes, oh, no, sir. My brother saw it the whole time. It's us that finally get to see it. That's the level I want to get to in this flow. And so, Bodie Miller, Lance Armstrong, pick your favorite athlete. They visualized their successes. They used flow before they're actually in the event. Our whole big thing is like, this isn't just reserved for F1 race car teams or, DevGru and CAG, like you now. And what better place to practice flow than in your life's work? You don't have to jump off a mountain to enjoy this. We're going to do this right now. So I'm going to take you to the next level of the flow state, which is polyvagal toning. I'm not going to go into what that is. It's this nervous system that connects all of our parts, basically. And the difference between being able to use fear and uncertainty for fuel is this toning. And so we're going to start with posture. I want to pull up on my head, and I want to balance my head backwards and forwards And I want to find the space where my skull just rests on my atlas and my axis. And you'll know it. You can already hear it in my voice. I've got the late night hypnotist voice happening. I am peaceful and flowing. My hands are radiating as well. Right? That's one. And just take a deep breath in and just sigh it out. We'll do 2 more of those. Breathing again. And then this one, just a little sip of air, and just drop it. Cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make some music. So I'm just going to 8 taps on the chest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to breathe in for that count. Ready? Breathe in. Hold it. And now sing. Pause. Breathe in. Hold. Sing. Breathe in. Sing. Pause. Breathe in. And sing. Pause. This is the last one. Breathe in. Pause. And sing. Pause. And then big breath in. As much air as you can take in. If you can carp, breathe in a little more. And squeeze it to your face. Ooh, there it is. Some DMT.
We should make the cover of our session us squeezing our faces.
The face squeezers. Face squeezers. So I got a little DMT in that. This beautiful flow chemical in my body. Dimethylene. What's the T? Tryptophan.
It's a trip. Yep.
Tryptophan. So that's some of the science behind the flow state. So F1 race car drivers are making that in order to keep up with how fast reality is changing. If you just did that and you feel a little lightheaded, a little flowy, you just did too. That's the microdose of that. You do that a couple times a day if you wish. Don't do that while you're driving.
Nitric oxide, right?
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. So just word of warning, don't do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're on or underwater. I had passed out doing that. So it's powerful medicine. Highly recommend titrating up. And then the thing that I did is I chased that dragon every day, trying to leave Earth. This too can become a drug of abuse. So just use it mindfully. And if you have kids and they're less than 18, they don't quite understand cause and effect yet. So powerful medicine. Part of the reason why that works so well is if you notice being a little air hungry, we're making carbon dioxide. That extra, that hypercapnia increases nitric oxide, molecule of the year in 1997. That's what the little blue pill does. It's a powerful vasodilator, but it also is our handshake into flow states. And so by humming, by throat singing, it increases nitric oxide by 15 times. So instead of pharmaceuticals, you can make it. And it turns out this is really good before workouts, great before sex, great for meditation, and getting us into a flow state.
Someone's dog is excited too.
Yeah, cheering us on for the first one. I got to let her out.
Aw.
Yeah. So Jake, how did you get into flow? Like, so you're a medical doctor, naturopath, concierge medicine, big wave surfer, chasing waves on your.
No, not big waves. Not big waves. Little wave surfer.
All waves on the West Coast are big waves compared to East Coast.
Well, good question, Brian. I was living in Nagoya, Japan, studying martial arts, and read a book by it was a book called The Unfettered Mind that was written in the late 1500s by a Japanese Zen monk who was giving advice to sword masters, and this monk's name was Takuan Soho. He was one of Musashi's teachers. I think a lot of our listeners have probably heard of Musashi's teacher. Musashi, this was back before MMA, when guys in Japan, the samurai, used swords to duel with each other. And Musashi had 60 confirmed duels without losing. And Takuan Soho was talking about how the mind can get tripped up, and was the first person to actually use the concept of flow. He used the concept of having a red ball floating in a stream, and how when it came and popped up against the rocks, it would spin and not stop moving and continue downstream. And he talked about how when you're facing your opponent, and I don't know if you've ever seen a live Japanese samurai sword, but it's kind of like staring down the barrel of a gun. It's an intimidating thing, and not having your mind freeze. So with flow states, especially the more profound ones, big flow, a lot of life and death scenarios will start that. So we think of big wave surfing, not little wave like me, special forces, or extreme action sports. F1 is certainly one where drivers have their lives and other people's lives in their hands. So there is an extreme shift in the nervous system, and part of what happens is the verbal goes down, time shifts, the sense of reality and focus is rich. So there's a richness to reality, and the nervous system is closing out things that it doesn't need and opening bandwidth for things that it does. And there's a fairly extensive and certainly growing body of literature on this and how to establish this. And I definitely get flow state in surfing. Music is a fantastic way. Laughter is a kind of a form of flow state. It's very short, but genuine laughter, you're not. I think for many people, music is one of the best way. And flow states typically have movement associated with them. And then there's also microflow, which is not as pleasant as the complete shift that big flow does, but that's something that I use in my practice. Unlike uh, many of the listeners here, and you and Magdalene, am in the grind. I have a 50+ hour a week job, and I work on having microflow in my day-to-day life. Flow makes us more productive. It makes us happier. And when we get into big flow, even if it's for a short period of time, our creativity and productivity go up after that. So that's kind of the long and the short story of it all.
Oh, Brian, you're muted.
All right, take two. That's the grace I asked for. Thank you. So one of the things I do with my clients is like, so imagine you have like this much dopamine, right? It's a battery, and like I'm down to like 10%. That's like when I start to doom scroll and like kind of zombie. If I were to just pause
Mm-hmm.
and breathe, or like rub my hands together, get a little of the quantum or throat sing, or some like samurai secret agent flow stuff where you don't have
Or
to
some like shaking,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Shaking or stomping or dancing.
jumping, looking at the sun. 90 seconds, a 90-second reset. And it's like if you were to do that when you feel like kind of tired, like not physically tired, but mentally tired, and just give your brain a break for a full 90 seconds, like 100% reload. I really like that 3-minute ocular nerve reset. That's 180 seconds, and that's pretty profound. So just imagine.
I've been using that at work all week. It's very helpful.
It's powerful, right? So imagine you give 57 minutes, an hour to the work, and then you nurture your body for three minutes.
Can you, for those people who don't know what the ocular nerve reset is, can you explain in a little bit more detail how to do that?
Yeah. Step one, I'm going to come back to posture. This is where my negative thoughts, this is opposite of flow. This is prison. If I want to be in flow, I need to be in a good posture. In this, and just feeling good in my body. That's step one. That's the start of the state change. Take a deep breath in and just side out. And I'm just going to place the cup part. See the cup part of my hand? See how this is like recessed? It's hard to tell if that's it's like a valley. I'm going to eye cup this. I want to touch this part of my face, not this part. Don't touch the eyes. That results in like glaucoma, right? So you want to just cup. See how cupped my hands are? Keep the eyes open, and I'm looking into black with my eyes open, and I'm blinking. I'm like, I want to show you how I'm blinking too. It's just like these little eye hugs about every 3 seconds, and you're just, lubricating the eye. It mimics being in the womb. And that's like the safest place we know is in our mother's womb, right? So.
And you're just breathing slowly in and out as you do that.
Just notice. I don't want to direct you with any kind of breath protocol in that. Just notice the breath. The body already knows how it wants to breathe in that particular moment. Just let it.
And then I think you mentioned something really important, Brian, is that postural element. And the medical term for that is flexion and extension. So flexion is a fear-based posture. When the more fear that is in our nervous system, the tighter the tone of our flexor muscle is. And what is the position of extreme fear is fetal position. All the flexor muscles are contracted, and the posture of ecstasy is the opposite, like when someone scores a touchdown or scores a goal in soccer. That is the ecstatic state, is that flexion extension dynamic. And many types of fear are involved with flexion extension dynamic. Part of that comes from the 8th cranial nerve. So we're talking a bit about cranial nerves today. We're talking about the ocular nerve. You're talking about vagus nerve reset. Vagus is 10th cranial nerve. And the flexion extension dynamic is the 8th cranial nerve, which also governs hearing and balance. So the singing and the vocalization are also a part of that. But also when we fall, there's a reflex that listeners can Google. It's called the Moreau reflex, M-O-R-O. In hospitals, when babies are born, we test their nervous system by simulating if they're falling. Can we don't have, it's perfectly safe for the babies, but they have the sense that they're falling, and their little nervous systems freak out, and their flexor muscles twitch because that's the fear response. And this is actually called an arboreal reflex or a tree reflex. When the mother primates would leave their babies in the trees, if the little babies, fall out of the tree, we go into flexion position, which is the fear-based position, but that protects all of our inner organs. And if you trace the 8th cranial nerve and the fear response back, it goes back 200 million years to fish, and the 8th cranial nerve in fish is the lateral line where they sense the predator coming. Predators will put a pressure wave. A big fish is going to put a pressure wave, and then the fish skedaddle. And the fish don't use flexion extension dynamic. They use something called dorsal ventral undulation, which is more like how a snake moves. Those maneuvers can also be very good to relax the nervous system. Anyway, a little bit of history of these cranial nerves.
So that's pretty interesting. So Magdalena, you are an expert when it comes to kinesthetic movement. One of my coaches in practicing flow rope, animal flow, is just like the serpent movement of the spine. And like, so if you want to take over and talk about your wings and your dancing and the way that you find flow through dance.
You read my mind, actually. But what I wanted to start talking about first, listening to Dr. Jake, is swimming. I find that swimming, especially
Oh yeah.
ocean, and I'm in the Caribbean and I'm in warm waters by warm sand and surrounded by palm trees. That's like my ultimate state of flow, where I feel like a mermaid and I'm just like swimming in the waves. Or for me, boogie
Oh,
boarding.
you were a mermaid.
Mermaid,
Sorry
yeah.
to interrupt. Guess, and I'm just going to fill in one thing. Guess what fear we lose when we're in water? Fear of falling. We're not afraid to fall when we're in the water.
Oh, right.
Goes
Yeah,
away because we float.
right.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem.
Look how excited you get, Jake.
Or just like body surfing or boogie boarding, like just like catching those waves. For me, I love that feeling. And then in terms of movement, I will talk a little bit about dancing, but first I want to talk about yoga, like stretching and yoga. When you were talking about flexion and extension, like I was thinking of like the cat-cow pose, and
Oh
doing,
yeah.
breathing in and breathing out, and that just feels so amazing to like really loosen the spine. I actually do a morning exercise almost regularly now that involves a lot of like spine flexion. So more in terms of through cat-cow poses. I also do downward dog and upward dog, or I'll do downward dog and cobra pose. I also really like flipping my wrists like this, right? Like when you're in cat-cow, you're like this, but doing this just to like really stretch out the wrists and the arms here, because like carpal tunnel is a thing, right? A lot of people have like we're always on our phones or like laptop, and we're always like this, basically. So just being able to stretch this out feels really amazing. The more I stretch out my whole body, the more I feel like life can flow through me and energy can flow through me, and that's how I get into the state of flow. I also really like doing a sequence of 4 different movements. One is like shaking, because shaking actually releases sadness. So if you experience a lot of grief or sadness, you can shake it out. Stomping and punching releases anger, rage, frustration. So stomp, punch. You can do each of those for like 10 to 30 seconds, whatever you want. And then you can, to ground yourself, you can just like touch your body like this, ground and nurture. And then you can just like free flow to, again, just create that kind of like emotional looseness within you, to just like let the emotions flow through you. In terms of dancing, I started off salsa dancing. So I did take lessons, but then I realized I don't really like choreography because it's all in the mind, like it's very in the mind. And I don't like performing for perfection, like with a choreographed dance, because I've tried that and it got me really stressed out. So I just stuck to social dancing, and I'm actually a really good salsa dancer, even though I stopped the professional route because I didn't like the mind aspect of it. But just like following, I love following a really good dancer who can just lead me. And I'm very intuitive. So I'm not a good dancer because I was like really well trained in the artistry of it or the form. I'm a good dancer because I'm very intuitive and I can follow really well. And that's what I've always been told. Like, dancer, you can follow so well. And apparently a lot of people don't know how to follow that well. So I have an upper hand in that way, even though I'm not like a professionally trained dancer and I haven't taken lessons and I didn't try to perfect my form. But just being intuitive and feeling the person's lead is what makes me a good dancer. And what I love, like I just love going with the flow and not having anything choreographed, and just like in the moment, like what's the next step? What's the next step? I'm just going to follow step by step, which is so much fun for me. And then the other form of dancing I love is called free flow arts. So that involves using like silk fans and big flags that you like spin around, and then also LED wings. So they're kind of like angel wings. I call them ice.
Oh yeah.
Because
I saw that in your video.
What's that?
That was in your video.
Yeah, in my video.
Your
And so belly
Instagram video.
dancers
Yeah,
using ISIS wings to dance. I do, the other activity I forgot to mention in the sequence of the shaking and the stomping is also hip circles. So if you're feeling stuck, like if you have writer's block or just like stuck and you don't know what to do next, you could do figure eights with your hips. So like really opening up that part of your body. Yeah, so I just, in terms of my wing dancing, I just, again, go with the flow of the music and then see what moves come through me. And what I envision is not so much of, okay, what move am I going to do next? It's like, when I'm breathing, what move will my breath produce next? And that's the same thing as imagining like divine force moving through me to create movement, rather than me doing it from my mind or from myself. Is like coming through, like the forest gets to come through my body and create this movement, and then I'm like really feeling like I'm in a state of flow. Yeah.
It's awesome. You said something really powerful
Sounds
with the hip flexors.
Oh yeah.
And so like the hips, sacral chakra, that's the creation energy. And because we sit so much, I'm sitting right now, Dr. Jakes, hi Marks, Magdalena, I'm sure is at your standing desk. I'm sitting.
I'm sitting. I wanted to stand up talking about that though.
Well, the challenge when I'm presenting and standing, I'm all over the camera, right? So anyway, the hips. So if the hips are locked, right? If the hip flexors are too tight, the creation energy can't make its way up the spine. So it's really powerful what you said. And then I also want to. This is one of my super friends. This may look like a spoon, but there is no spoon. This is a gua sha, actually. My gua sha is in my hot tub. But almost everybody has one of these. And you have coconut oil. You get into like pec minor in here, there's a fair amount of tension. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to scrape the myofascial tissue. You'll never hear about this in the medical industrial complex. It doesn't cost anything, but it's something that actually tunes the nervous system. So right now, my right heel is painful. It's tight because there's tension. First time we ever did it, there's some stress in my system in orchestrating all of this. And so I noticed that I've got some pain in my right heel. That means that there's extra tension in my system. So I could breathe that out. I could soak that out. Or I want the intersection of like, I want a slack nervous system so I can feel what fuck yes feels like and like what no means. And so it may sound woo. Yeah. It may sound woo, but it's actually a really powerful thing that children do really, really well. And I'll prove it to you. You have like an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent you like, you're like, can you pretend to like this person? You're like, yeah, but you don't trust them, right? So fast forward 20 years, I was working with a guy and he's like, what's this woo shit that you're talking about? I'm like, all right, let's use another word, like your gut. Did you ever have a gut feeling about somebody? And he goes, yeah, what happened? He stole millions of dollars from me. But you felt it wasn't right? Yep, I should have listened. Why don't we listen? It's because if there's too much tension in the nervous system, I can't really feel it yet. So billionaires are spending a lot of time and money in learning how to use this gua sha tool to scrape out the extra tension, especially around the cranium, the neck, the pec minor, because we're in this position, right? Bottoms of the feet. So scraping, especially in the shower, works really, really well. Water's really great too. If you've had like a shitty day, something about the ions, something about connecting to the water, letting the water do the work instead of the brain doing it. And it's really interesting to pay attention to the physical, to get into the body in the shower. That's 1,000% more potent than anything I can think. And I know this because I'm trained, I read 1,000 books from the time I got out of the Navy in 2011. I'm a trained language coach, change a word, change a victim story. This is how Tony Robbins coaches. That's powerful, but that's only 10% of it. What we're talking right now has 10 times the power of anything that I can think. So the movement, getting into the body, speaking out loud, singing, all of that, those are secret weapons. And for you to share your unique genius with the world, out of your head into the body.
One other race I love releasing.
These.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jake.
I was going to say these are 21st century skills that don't get taught in schools because we're still teaching 20th century concepts in schools. And Magdalena, you mentioned shaking, I think it was. That's how we of stress. Movement is a very good way to let go of stress because we're operating that flexion extension dynamics, and the hip flexors, as Brian said, interfere with the spine because, and you use the word psoas, which are the strongest hip flexors in the body, and they connect to the lumbar vertebrae, L2 to L4. And if they're tight, they lock down that lumbar spine. When we stretch, when we relax, we get more movement. That is more freedom of expression, freedom of emotion. And and then the fear, ecstasy dynamic, the fear joy, the fear fun dynamic is again flexion extension, and that ties into all.
Dr. Jake's making coffee right now, and that's a really beautiful segue into flow. To mindfully prepare. So I have like a hand grinder. So I hand grind my coffee beans now, and I pour the water over the beans in my AeroPress. So I have a very manual coffee practice, and it helps me to slow down enough where I can get into the flow first thing in the morning, some gratitude in that. And I think part of the reason why Dr. Jake's making coffee is just like his sounds, like where he is. He's in a beautiful RV park, and he's back in nature. And you heard the sounds of the microwave and the clinking of his coffee cup and those things. And he promised us he would get some.
Sorry,
coffee.
guys. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, not a worry.
I'm sorry, guys.
I'm just explaining coffee as a flow exercise in the
Mm-hmm.
beans and the pour over process. And now you're outside, like enjoying like a really richly made artisanal.
Oh, this is some good coffee, man. This is some good
Tell me
coffee.
about your coffee.
What's that?
Tell me
Oh,
about-
okay. So I use something called an AeroPress, AeroPress. I like French roasts and Italian roasts because I love that bitter flavor, and the bitter elements start to stimulate digestion and get the whole digestive system moving. And caffeine, I do not do caffeine at work because my days are too long. And if I do caffeine at work, I have to do it all day for the whole day, and then that disrupts my sleep. So I save it for a treat on the weekends. I look forward to it all week. And caffeine is historically a very social drug. Caffeine is the most utilized drug on the entire planet. There are about 8 billion humans, and 7 billion of us use caffeine at least once a month. And whether it be tea or coffee, and it is very good for the verbal. So we're podcasting. It's a great blend, and we certainly wouldn't want to be drinking beers out here. But the coffee is a good, and so the making of the coffee is a ritual for me. As soon as I open that bag, I smell it, and that starts the whole process. Again, cranial nerve, the sense of smell, and we all know what grandma's house smells like, or smelled like.
Yes.
Smells bring us back through memories. So these cranial nerves are very important.
This is one of the reasons why aromatherapy is so potent. So you want to get a little extra out of your brain. The citrus smell, and
Oh yeah.
wakens up the cognitive capacity.
I used that right before this call. Citrus bliss.
Nice.
And for those who think of that as woo, there are lots of studies on citrus terpenes, and plants make them for a reason. Plants make molecules specifically to interact with human physiology. So there's a very logical reason pharmacologically why plant molecules work with humans. Caffeine, I could tell you the story about that, but if you take rats who are lethargic in the cage and you pump in some citrus aromatherapy, they start moving.
Yeah.
They get up and they go.
So this is powerful, guys, right? So smell. Like I really like the way the ocean smells. Jake, maybe you too.
Mm-hmm.
Magdalena.
As soon as I smell that salt water, I relax.
Yeah, and there's something about the scent of coconut on the beach.
Ooh, yeah.
With like sunbathing, right? My body loves that.
Yes.
I have a hack for that in the wintertime. I have a UVA, UVB, red light IR. So I get my reptile on in the morning as I'm drinking my coffee. That's pretty cool. The red light's been really good on my feet. That it feels like plantar fasciitis. I'll do 20 minutes of red light IR on my foot, and then my pain is gone in that foot. And I think a lot of it has to do with my body's getting the signal to stem cell, but also to relax.
Oh yeah.
So I look down at a campfire. So smell the campfire just for a second. There's some great camping trip with your friends, right? For me, like especially the smell of a potbelly stove is what my grandparents'
Oh yeah.
house smells like, right? And so, you know, I come from the Von Muka family, kind of like the Von Trapps from Sound of Music. We all played multiple instruments, so there was the smell of the fire and the sound of the music. And if I ever lose my mind, those are memories I will have forever. That is a reptilian level intelligence. And so we can use those systems to bring us back to like Christmas Eve, if that's a good memory for you, or like 10-foot glassy waves in Belmar, New Jersey. Like that's what pizza smells like to me.
Yeah, yeah, and helpful for overcoming trauma, where the nervous system is. I think you used an F word earlier, so I'm going to use it again. Nervous system's fucked up and stuck in a rut, and we can't get out of it. We utilizing smell and other eighth cranial nerves can kind of help reset. Take it back to grandma's house.
Yeah, and so that gets into my work, and I don't usually do this with my clients. Using the aromatherapy, we go in the mind's eye and use the imagination, you know, playfully, and the body doesn't know the difference. So if you're trapped somewhere where you don't like your environment, you can always shift the inner space to the beach or the Caribbean if it's the dead of winter for you on the planet of Hoth, or like, you know, if in the mind, like, when does this get easier? Or I can just transport my heart to like, we've already solved it. Let's come from that. Because what I found, and this is Donnie Epstein, so you may think this is woo, but woo enough for Tony Robbins, right? This is how he does his 72 hours. There's the shitty, I'm in my prison kind of energy. And if I want to know what energetic state you're in, all I do is look at your breath and I look at your spine posture. This is my prison. If I want to start getting in the flow, I want to be perpendicular to the earth, right? So now I'm at least here. And when I close my eyes and I like, all right, I'm going to breathe in the campfire, right? And a future memory that Jake and I have, you know, is surfing and kiteboarding, you know, out in Oregon and Washington State. So like
down at the gorge, baby.
I feel tired from a great day.
I thought I was included in that memory.
You are too, but that's that too. And some like, you know, smoked meat. I'm into that, you know? And so now I have the smell of that and like, we fucking did it. The energy, we already fucking did it.
Yeah.
So
the nervous, when we, go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Magdalena.
Olfactory sense, I actually know a lot about that because I use essential oils. The ones I use, I can actually use internally. So I like drink them, eat them, put them in my chocolate that I make, but I also smell them and I make little perfumes out of them. And one of my favorite activators and energizers that I like to use is lemon, lavender, peppermint together. Ooh. Or I'll do peppermint and orange. The orange is like really uplifting. It really creates like a joyful, abundant kind of feeling. Peppermint is very energizing and gently stimulating. So I'll rub those in my hand and smell them. And then I'll put the rest, and then I'll actually breathe them in through my mouth as well to get them into my lungs. And then I'll put the rest on my neck just to kind of relax my neck and my shoulders. And then I smell of it. So that feels so amazing. I also really like some grounding essential oils like sandalwood, cedarwood, frankincense, myrrh, vetiver, patchouli. They're very, very grounding. And what I like to pair the grounding oils with is very often rose essential oil or vanilla, because it's got that, the grounding have a masculine energy, and then the rose and vanilla have more of a feminine energy. So it's like, to me, it creates that yin yang balance. And then I get to feel that within myself when I apply it or I smell it or diffuse it in a diffuser. To me, rose and frankincense have like a very spiritual kind of energy. And to me, it makes me think of like Mother Mary or Grandmother Anna, who, by the way, was Jesus's grandmother. Look her up. She's cool. She's a woman that was teaching rewilding. Like, she was all about being in the wilderness and being a wild woman. So I love essential oils. Like, I could talk about them for hours and hours, but if you wanted to try like a simple, mood and energy lifter, if you're tired, just the lemon, lavender, peppermint or the orange peppermint together feels amazing. You could also put a drop each of that in your water if you have so I use doTERRA oils, But if you use any oil that's organic, like certified pure therapeutic grade, meaning that you can ingest it, then you can put that in your water, those combinations as well. And they also really like energize you and cleanse your body and make you feel so good.
Or your coffee.
Or your coffee.
Oh,
Yeah, I do.
well, it depends on because the coffee's bitter, so that can hide things. That's why they use it for drug dogs. But yes, absolutely, you can put that in your coffee.
I like the
Rose is great. Rose is great for grief. Rose and and frankincense is one of the predominant spiritual. I put frankincense in my hair before our call today just to kind of keep me keyed in.
agile.
And you mentioned vanilla. Both vanilla and frankincense have pain relieving properties. Frankincense works on the lipoxygenase pathway. It has to be taken orally. Most people recommend 500 milligrams twice a day. It doesn't interact with a lot of blood thinning medication, so it's relatively safe. And you also mentioned, I think you mentioned Mary, mother of Jesus. They gave her frankincense after childbirth. They didn't have a lot of really good pain relievers back then, but that was one of them. And vanilla, there is a major inflammatory pathway that a lot of people have not heard of called the TRPV1, TRPV1 pathway. The V stands for vanilla because scientists used the plant. They were trying to find out why vanilla is good for headaches, and they discovered this whole receptor system. So these plants do amazing things, and I think that our culture does a very poor job of scientifically explaining why they can be helpful for us as humans. And again, this is an ancient skill, but also a 21st century skill.
I love that.
Okay, I want to say two more things quickly. Frankincense, it crosses the blood-brain barrier. So if you put it on the roof of your mouth, it'll go directly into your brain. And if you pair it with
Ooh, that's a cool tip.
peppermint is a vasodilator. So it actually gets the peppermint basically gets other essential oils into your bloodstream quicker because it opens up your blood vessel. So what I like to do is I like to put a drop of peppermint and frankincense into my clean hand and then dip my thumb in it and put it on the roof of my mouth, or just drop a drop of each on my tongue and put it to the roof of my mouth. And honestly, it's grounding and energizing, but it really works well for anxiety and depression. And by the way, if you have epilepsy, regular use of frankincense and some other essential oils can significantly reduce epileptic seizures. And as you were talking about frankincense, Dr. Jake, I have a product here that I'm supposed to give to a friend. It's called Maxi Boss. Have you heard of it? It's by AOR. This one here. Yeah. It's really good. It's frankincense. Like it has boswellia in it, which is a form of frankincense. Boswellia serrato.
Yes, it is.
So it's recommended for sleep, pain, arthritis. Yeah. Mood.
Yeah, if you're looking for frankincense, guys, boswellia is what you search for. Yeah, good.
No, I'm good. I have a front row seat to a masterclass on not only essential oils, but Magdalene, you have an expertise, especially this is really special to have this. An expert when it comes to cellular membrane and cellular health. I think that's fascinating. Before we jump to that, I just want to mention I know a little bit about cypress. So I did a study in Japan and folks that spent 24 hours among pine trees, the cypress trees. They had an elevated immune system for the next 6 weeks. So if you have a little bit of a cold or sniffles, I've been using like freshly ground ginger and steeping my own tea with some cinnamon in it. This is the first winter that I haven't gotten sick. I get the sore throat and the postnasal drip. Usually I'm like 3 days away from bronchitis. It doesn't happen. These protocols are helping keep the immune system humming beautifully. And it's just so interesting to me that when I zoom out and become part of the ecosystem in which I live. So I harvest my water every day. I either melt snow water or I go down to the stream and I have like a little backpacking hand pump. So I make my own water every day and it connects me to the nature. And there's something really, really powerful about runoff, like ice runoff, the deuterium. So there's 3 phases of water, not phases, isotopes. So tritium is the heaviest. That has 2 neutrons per hydrogen molecule. Deuterium is the most is more common. It's heavy, and so what I want is protium. So that's just the hydrogen without the neutron. And so, like, if I freeze water, the water that freezes is the lightest. Why does any of this matter? Because in the wintertime, my mitochondria makes sunlight that the melanin that I produced over the summer recaptures it. And so, for that to do that more effectively, the lighter the water, the less energy I need to turn the water into light.
Amazing. Who knew that? I bet you none of y'all knew that.
Love that.
You know,
No, I didn't. I had not heard that.
But you know it immediately when you have crisp water, like mineral water is good. But if you ever get to taste like rainwater or like snow melt, holy moly. It's like
I during COVID, when as soon as Canada opened the border, you're Canadian, Magdalena. I needed some big nature, and I went up to the Kootenay Mountains in British Columbia, and there's a national park up there that has the only remaining yellow cedar left on the planet. So it's old growth forest, and I was told that the water was safe to drink there, and it was coming off of the glacier and the snow melt. And so I, for the first time in my life, drank water straight out of the stream, and it was like drinking from the mother, and it tasted so good. And we're so disconnected from that. But I think water is an underutilized therapy, and I think that as we move deeper into the 21st century, it's going to become more and more important because of the signaling pathways in the interstitium which interact with cell membrane. So I'm going to hand it off to Magdalena about the cell membrane, but the outer aspect of the cell membrane has all these glycosaminoglycan molecules that absorb and release water, and when they're healthy, they hold on to the water close to the cell and they organize it, kind of like they use the electrochemical properties. So this is a path of research that science started going down in the late 80s and kind of reached a dead end because there are not pharmacologic applications. But I think that as we move into the AI age, we're going to be able to organize this data interestingly. So I'll hand that off to you. Cell membranes, very important.
Yeah. So even though I have like 10 things to say about what you guys just spoke about, I'll stick to cell membrane fluidity right now. So one of the biggest problems in today's society, especially in North America, is that 99% of us living in North America have rigid cell membranes. So you might have which causes low-grade chronic inflammation, which can result in so many different health conditions. And a lot of people can live with that without even knowing it until they reach old age. And then they start to develop maybe MS or Alzheimer's or dementia or Parkinson's or all these other conditions because they had chronic inflammation for so long due to cell membrane rigidity. Other people with cell membrane rigidity already feel it in their body. They know something's wrong, and that could look like insulin resistance, so diabetes. It could be hormonal imbalances, fibromyalgia, anxiety, depression, like literally any condition is linked to cell membrane rigidity, literally any single health condition. And so what does cell membrane rigidity mean? It means that your cell membranes are not fluid and they're not permeable. They should be. They should be like flexible, flowy, malleable, in a state of flow. But because
Flow.
sorry guys. Hold on, I'm gonna get this.
Time for some.
Oh, okay. I'll only carry that for a little bit. So the cell membrane fluidity, one of the things that really disrupts cell membrane fluidity, because I do longevity medicine, this is my wheelhouse, but cholesterol gets into the cell membrane and it makes it stiff. One of the ways we can loosen up the cell membrane is with omega-3s. Fish oils, for example, help fluidify the cell membrane, and we can actually test it. There's an easy way and there's a hard way, but for regular cell membranes, we test red blood cells because they're easy. It's just have the person draw the blood, and we can look at cell membrane fluidity. If that is compromised, this is getting more into millionaire and billionaire medicine. We can measure mitochondrial fluidity, which is a lot more expensive and involves a lot more, but it's relatively easy to measure cell membrane fluidity of red blood cells, and it's a great indicator. Are you ready to chat more, Magdalena?
Yeah, so I have, yeah, the frog has been released. So John, a quick question. When you test for it, do you do it through a plasma test or through a dry
It's red cell, so just a whole blood. Yeah, just whole blood. But the plasma is in there as well. Yeah.
So you basically
And
like
then
through a needle to the vein or through dripping blood onto
venipuncture. Yeah, venipuncture. Just like you go to your doctors and they take those little vials of blood. That's what it's used.
Gotcha.
And then I also do like to look at inflammatory markers. I look at highly sensitive C-reactive protein and a molecule called homocysteine, which measures inflammation in the blood vessels. And then one of the best supplements, plant medicines for, it's called the endothelium, the cells that line the blood vessels that have those glycosaminoglycans, those sugar molecules that organize the water, is something called resveratrol, which is a plant molecule. And the plants use that molecule to deal with in photosynthesis and also to protect from the sun. So it does a real good job squenching free radicals. So those are the low end therapies that we do, but it is just a basic blood draw. Like you go to the conventional lab and have a conventional blood draw, and then you just add on the red blood cell test.
Okay, so the way I test it is actually different. So I do well, I don't do it, but the company that I use it through does a dry blood spot test. So you basically prick your finger and then you let it drip onto a piece of paper, let it dry, and then it tests your actual cell. So it's not really dependent on what you ate that day or what supplement you were taking. A red blood cell basically takes 120 days to turn over. So it's very consistent, like the result is very consistent through that type of a test. So basically, just going back to cell membrane fluidity versus rigidity, we should have permeable cell membranes because you want oxygen and nutrients to get into the cell, the right ones, and you want toxins to be able to leave the cell. If your cell is rigid, like it's rigid, there's no permeability, that means oxygen and nutrients, or even the supplements that you're taking, are not properly getting absorbed into the cell as they should, and toxins get trapped. So if you feel like sick and this toxicity within you, it's because your cell membrane is rigid. So what we want to do is we want to improve the fluidity of it through what Dr. Jake said, omega-3s. Omega-3s is simply the best way to do that. There's other ways as well, like hydration, but the number one way is through omega-3s. So the problem, though, is that 99% of omega-3 supplements actually don't work. And I know this because I've tested people that have consistently taken omega-3 supplements, and they actually came out with rigid cell membranes and an imbalanced omega-6 to 3 ratio. That's another important factor, is to have a balanced omega-6 to 3 ratio. What does that mean? So omega-6s are more inflammatory. They're often found in like processed foods and seed oils, although there are also some good omega-6s that cause inflammation. So for example, when you're sick and you have an immune reaction, you want a bit of inflammatory cells to attack, right, the pathogens, but you don't want too much of that. So you want to have a balanced ratio. Back in the day, like hunters gatherers, they used to have an omega-6 to 3 ratio of 1:1. Now what we're trying to go for, because we live in a society that's not perfect nutritionally. So if we have an omega-6 to 3 ratio that's 3:1, that's considered balanced and good. But 99% of us have an omega-6 to 3 ratio that's like 20:1, 30:1, even 50:1. So most people, and even I tested myself, and I was imbalanced. I came out at what was my 14 to 1 was my level, even though I took an omega-3 supplement, which clearly wasn't working. So what I do is I help people to increase cell membrane fluidity through a product that's a food grade product, and it's a blend of fish oils and olive oil. The reason it has olive oil in it.
Brilliant.
Can I pause you just for 1 second? So we just had a heavy dose of science. I love this stuff. And so you're like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? If the body is operating in a suboptimal, right? So I want minimum effective dosages. So if you take the right amount of water, the right amount of sodium, the right omega-3, that's the base of the pyramid. And so if my temple is clean, it's a lot easier to get into flow. And the whole point of today is
absolutely.
How do I work with less friction? How does my brain work properly? And so if my brain is inflamed, my C-reactive protein, the total measurement of inflammation in my body is off the charts. There's too much turbulence for me to fly through in order to attain these flow states. You can get there. I want to stay there for longer periods of time. So the trace minerals, the nutrition stuff, the water, the breath, the stress levels, all of that is part of what are the ingredients, what are the nutrients that I need in order to have the minimum effective dose of the stressors in my life. How do I stack the deck? And I love this quote. If I ever find myself in a fair fight, I haven't appropriately prepared. That's General Grossman, right? Our enemy, right? The medical industrial complex, the food industry, right? They've stacked the deck against you because they don't want you to be in flow. And so what we're talking about is like low cost, no cost. It just costs your time and energy and effort. And as you guys have noticed, this is our first one, and there's probably 3 shows that we can do just based on what we just skim the surface of. So we're at the top of the hour. Magdalena, how about you share with folks how they can connect with you further if they're interested in the omega-3 or working with you directly? Same thing with you, Jake. And kind of just like, what did we learn today? Sound, flow, yoga, that and essential oils. That's what I learned today. And I've been around this a lot, and I forget how baseline reptilian that is. So, Maggie, you want to share what you're leaving with today and remind the audience what they heard, and then also what's next?
Yeah, well, and I wanted to say as you were speaking, because I was like, I got quite into the science of it, but this is the cool thing is that we can start at the cellular level. Like we can get into the flow state by actually feeding our bodies what they need and giving it what it needs to feed our cells. And then on a zoomed out perspective, getting into flow state with what I started off with, the heart opening exercise. Yep. More of like, body movement, emotional regulation, nervous system regulation, and spiritual connection. So you can get into flow through psychology, emotions, spirituality, and nutrition, right? And so many other things. But how to connect with me? I'm on Facebook as Magdalena Trish. My last name is CZYZ. LinkedIn, same name. And then on Instagram, it's at Magdalena Wellness. And then I also have an email, info@magdalenawellness.com.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Dr. Jake, you're up.
Hey, LinkedIn, Dr. Jake. Felice is the Italian pronunciation. Looks like Felice, F as in Frank, ELICE. And you can find me on Instagram, which I just turned back on again for this series we're doing at Uncle Jake 88. Sorry about that name, but it's a lot easier to learn. But LinkedIn is a great way to get a hold of me, and I've got lots of videos on flow, etc. on there, as well as botanicals. And this is an exciting conversation. These are 21st century skills, and if you are stressed, you are heading for disease if you're not there already, and you're also easy to be manipulated by marketing and computer algorithms, because a stressed body will shop, it will eat, it will overindulge. So the better we are physiologically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, the more joy we have, the more creativity we have, and the more we can be our unique selves.
I love it.
Yes.
And in my insertion point to all of this was my special operations background as a bomb technician. I've been obsessed with learning how to harness fear for a long time, and there's no shortage of fear sources in the world. So my promise, you stick with this, learn how to flow, even when the fear shows up. You're a dangerous human. So cheers to your rewilding, and like Dr. Jake said, these are 21st century skills. It takes an expert to show you the ropes. How does your body actually work? They didn't teach that in school. In fact, it's not in your best interest for them to teach you that, right? They want to keep you sick and confused. So we'll be here every week, 2 p.m. Eastern, noon Mountain.
Saturday morning flow.
Yeah, the Saturday flow state. Yeah, so good. So in the interim, you guys will see this on LinkedIn or YouTube throughout the week. If you have questions, send those. If you want to be connected directly to Jake, Dr. Jake and Magdalena, I'm happy to do that for you as well. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. So how's that sound?
And I just thought of a tagline: Flow
What?
State Saturdays. Let's
Flow
get
State
dangerous.
Saturdays. I was looking
Let's
for that.
get dangerous.
Yeah.
You are dangerous. Yeah, remember. Yeah, you're dangerous. Remember how.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Love you guys.
All right.
Thanks for playing.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.